Thank you very much, Gus, and thank you very much for the opportunity of speaking today. And I'd like to congratulate Parks Victoria and all these wonderful groups for running this first Healthy Parks, Healthy People Congress. And just thank all of you for highlighting just how important our parks are for maintaining and improving our physical, mental and emotional health. And also to thank you, I guess, as participants, as the custodians of these spaces, which are truly incubators of good health. Now, what I'm saying now might sound a little odd, but I just want to say how happy I am to pay my taxes and to pay my council rates. In fact, we recently got our council rate bill, and I actually got a photo taken of me with a smile on my face just in case people don't believe me. Why? But because this is a small contribution to our parks, to our collective spaces and places that we can all share. I'm lucky enough to live in a street with a park at one end. I love the trees, I love the open space, the sporting matches that go on, the people I might meet there. I know it enhances my life and that of my family, and I'm very grateful for it. Today I'd like to talk about some of the health challenges that we face, why things have changed, what consequences these changes are having, what we can do about them, and as Gus mentioned before, some of the recommendations coming out of the National Preventative Health Strategy. And to say that we have some major health challenges confronting us in Australia is an understatement. The task force has said that recent trends predict that the life expectancy for Australian children alive today will fall 2 years by the time they are 20 years old because of obesity, representing life expectancy levels seen for males in 2001 and for females in 1997. And we think this is an awful legacy to be leaving our children. So what's really changed in our lives? For one thing, much of our physical activity has disappeared in what the Medical Journal of Australia describes as a conspiracy of sedentariness. Now here I'll take a little bit of journalistic licence if I can, but if you think of our lives, at one extreme we could think of ourselves as spending our lives in boxes. Our home is a box, we spend an inordinate amount of time watching screens on boxes. Every day we hop into a box on wheels and then drive into another big box for school or work. We get out and hop into another box that moves up and down inside the big box. After it goes up, we walk a short distance and plonk ourselves in front of another box with a screen on it. According to the CSIRO here, we spend 90% of our lives indoors, 7% of our lives in cars, and only 3% of our lives outdoors. So we're often inactive, increasingly glued to a chair or a couch, and out of touch with the natural world around us, the open spaces that do abound, often with wonderful surrounds. 43 minutes a day in touch with unconditioned air. 100 minutes a day in a car. Another indicator of change is, let's take walking to school. Warm and sunny Australia, unlike much colder northern Europe, has so embraced the car that we have reversed the trend so that only 30% of kids are walking to school, less than half of the proportion in the 1980s. Walking to school rates are much, much higher in colder climates such as Canada, Germany and Japan. Somehow good parenting has come to mean that we should drive our children to school. Our collective embrace of the car has reached such an absurd extreme, with a Tasmanian surgeon suggesting we should all be driving in Hummers. That pit bull of four-wheel drives is to protect ourselves. Why not drive our children to school in tanks, you might ask? It does concern me, I guess, that this approach re-emphasises the notion of being indoors, somehow protecting ourselves from everyone else and from nature, a boxed-in life, a parkless life. This is not only nature deficit disorder, it's people deficit disorder and nature deficit disorder as well. Lifestyles, private transport systems and urban environments that literally lock us away from each other and from nature not only decrease our physical activity and increase our risks of overweight and obesity, hence we call them obesogenic, but they keep us from each other and they reduce our social connections. So in a sense, if we continue down this way, we develop depressionogenic environments because we know social connections are fundamental to maintaining good mental health. The way we design our urban surrounds is obviously crucial to our health. Take the tale of two streets. A few years ago, they looked at two streets in San Francisco. It could be anywhere else in Geelong or Melbourne. One street had 2,000 cars going past per day and the other 16,000 per day. Those living on Light Street had 3 times as many friends amongst their neighbours than those in Heavy Street, and they exercised much more on the street. Those in Light Street thought of their street as much more friendly and safe for their kids, and those in the Heavy Street tended to keep to themselves and had little sense of community. According to the work of Billy Giles Cortai from Western Australia, if you don't have a footpath outside your door, you're 65% more likely to be overweight. If you live on a freeway, you're 400% more likely to be overweight. It does concern me that somehow we've got our priorities wrong in Australia, and that the notion of the fit, bronzed Aussie has become more myth than reality. We have become, as the joke goes, like an AFL or an NRL grand final, this is the football or the rugby league, where 100,000 people who need more exercise are watching 36 people who certainly don't need any more exercise. These days, there is so much more on offer to glue our bums and those of our children to the couch, be it TV, videos, video games, computers, the web, Facebook, mobile phones and SMS. We don't have to move to be entertained, but we do risk morphing into pin-headed, big-bummed anthropoids with giant fingers and forefingers and thumbs designed to operate the remote control. And the so-called free market is so constructed that the advertising for inactivity, cars, video games and so on, overpowers any advertising for activity. When, for example, did you last see an ad for a bicycle or for public transport on primetime TV? Very recent research shows that not only do we need activity, but that we should limit the time that we spend inactively. When we're inactive for too long, we start depositing fat and become resistant to insulin, thus increasing our chance of developing diabetes. So activity is not only beneficial, but high levels of inactivity can be harmful. Now, 100 years ago, we had to stop from our labours every hour or so, or every 2 hours, or whenever we got the opportunity. Now, to stay healthy, we actually have to get up and start moving to exercise. So given these declines in our physical activities, what are our choices? Can we take a pill for it? Well, not so long ago I was asked to write a chapter for a group here at Bike Victoria for their Bike Bible on the value of physical activity. And the deep impression I was left with was that if anything is close to being a magic bullet for our well-being, then it is physical activity. Whether it's heart health, lung health, musculoskeletal health, and even mental and psychological health, then physical activity is literally the go. And call me a Luddite, but I just can't see technology helping us here. A pill will never be able to replace the need to move it or lose it. Simply put, our bodies are designed to be exercised, so the more effectively and the earlier we can teach our children to enjoy physical activity, to make it part of our lives, then the better for their short and long-term well-being. And also, we can't take a pill for the benefits of being in contact with the natural world around us. What are the opportunities for physical activity? Well, obviously, despite the pressure of our modern lives, we do, as parents and children, have lots of opportunities to be physically active. School-aged children, for example, can be active before school, on the way to school, at lunchtime, during morning and afternoon breaks, after school, on the way home from school, then there are the weekends, and of course the holidays. And this is where our green spaces become so important. And of course, adults have similar opportunities to increase exercise in our lives. And getting ourselves and our children to be active as possible on the way to school or work is a great place to start. It obviously covers many things at once. Transport, exercise, getting to know and appreciate the greenery and the parks in our neighbourhoods, social contact, and of course walking and cycling have much lighter carbon footprints, which is in turn better for our green spaces. Interestingly enough here, if we could get 80 to 90% of primary school children walking or riding to school just in this city alone, there'd be approximately 1 million fewer car trips every day. At one primary school, they have the front gate where the kids who walk to school arrive and the back gate where the parents fight for a few car parking spaces to speedily drop their children off. One parent happily contrasted the welcoming, friendly environment of the front gate to the car park rage at the back gate. And as indicated previously, we spend a huge majority of our time either indoors or in the car. Yet obviously in Australia we have a climate that, sun protection aside, is generally very friendly to being outdoors. It does encourage us to get in touch with the natural world around us and have that unconditioned air to touch our faces and those of our children. And as Marty Townsend has pointed out, appealing natural environments have such a calming effect on us, reducing stress, blood pressure and even levels of cholesterol.